Hey guys, it is Saturday morning at about 5 o'clock on November 14th, and I just got some like a serious text from my friend. He's been getting targeted. I'm not sure if it was like around because he was around me or before that he had been targeted, but he sent me a text message saying, they locked me up. I'm not sure like the situation, so I'm really worried. Um, uh, his ankles were all swollen up, which I've heard on a lot of conference calls is targeting with the ELF to the ankles. And he was pretty sure he was getting hit. I'm just not sure if it was because he was hanging around me or before that, because he had said that he had felt some of the symptoms before that, but he is very religious, so he thought that it was just spiritual attacks. He was kind of the perfect person for them to go after because he's very religious, and he thinks a lot of it is all spiritual, is very spiritual. I pray for him, please. Like, I'm very worried. I hope I get a text from him soon. What I'm doing now, my targeting is very, very scary. It's a lot of people around me. They are using a lot of remote neural monitoring because I'm not verbally communicating with them. So there are certain images burned like into my forefront of my visual cortex. And it's just like I'm not sure if they're trying to just disturb me and make me act out, or trying to build something so they can have like the stuff that they're visually looking at, and try and build it so they can show people and be like, look, this guy's thinking crazy stuff. Not sure. I'm not sure of the plan there. This stuff is really evil. It's really big. We need to fight it. What I'm going to do now, because I'm kind of freaking out, I'm just going to go ahead and read the patent for remote neural monitoring, because I don't really know what else to do. I can't run out of my house right now. I'm trying to move plugs and plates around. It's kind of working, but it's kind of they've got heavy duty directed energy military equipment. He's not getting caught, so he just keeps on moving more in. There's new voices on the V2K, so I think he got somebody who has done the remote neural monitoring a lot, and maybe, I don't know, specialized in that. I heard him say on the V2K the other night, this guy's done this before. He knows what he's talking about. So it's really scary. They've gotten people who have done this successfully to target individuals, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if they got them to commit suicide, or killed them, or put them away, or what have you. I don't know. I don't know what that meant, but I heard that on the V2K. So it's getting pretty intense. Intense terrorism. It is terrorism. Like, I am guilty of smoking weed, which I've told everybody. I think they do such bad stuff. They want to, make us out as, terrorists or criminals, or we have something in our past we're hiding, or something like that. And I think that's for all of us. So, but I'm just going to go ahead and start reading this. It's an apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and altering brainwaves. US 3951134A, and that's the publication number. So it was filed in August 5th, 1974, and published April 20th, 1976. The inventor was Robert Malek, but I think what they do is they'll just put a name on this. It'll seem like it's one inventor, but it's really like, a government agency or something like that getting the patent. So it was 1974 that they, filed for it. 1976 was the publication date. That was a long time ago. The abstract of it is apparatus for and method of sensing brainwaves at a position remote from a subject, whereby electromagnetic signals of different frequencies are simultaneously transmitted to the brain of the subject, in which the signals interfere with one another to yield a waveform which is modulated by the subject's brainwaves. The interference waveform, which is representative of the brainwave activity, is retransmitted by the brain to a receiver where it is demodulated and amplified. The demodulated waveform is then displayed for visual viewing and routed to a computer for further processing and analysis. The demodulated waveform also can be used to produce a compensating signal which is transmitted back to the brain to effect a desired change in electrical activity therein. So they just talked about how basically they are transmitting a waveform, they're transmitting the electromagnetic frequency to your brain, and then it goes back, and they actually say it. The demodulated waveform is then displayed for visual viewing. So they explain how they take a frequency, they shoot it towards your brain, your visual cortex, and then it is retransmitted back as a frequency and then shown on a visual viewing, and routed to a computer for further processing and analysis. And they do this so they can also transmit stuff to your brain. They can take an image that you've never seen before, and they can turn it into a frequency and shoot it into your brain. And so your brain will visualize it, and so then they can, they could do something like that, get crazy images, and then like somebody, like I don't know if it's my main stalker doing it, or if he's gotten somebody in the other house to do it like secretly, and then he's trying to trick people in his house. I'm not sure how much the deceit runs, but I'm pretty sure he's just doing it. He's doing it, and then he's, saying like, because I'm like, we've been going over this, like I haven't verbally communicated with them, but the V2K is still very strong, and they are, it is a reaction to just what I'm thinking. So it's hell. It's basically hell on earth. I was thinking tonight, I can't really imagine, like when I imagined hell as a child and even into adulthood, I could never imagine anything like this. This is like, the most demonic, depraved, inhumane thing I could ever imagine. But I read that abstract, and that's basically, please look this up, because they can do this. Please be aware of the technology that they have. So if you're thinking stuff that doesn't feel like you, you'll be aware of it, and you'll be able to kind of, like I've been able to put up visual firewalls in my mind, but they've been hitting me very hard, and it's been very hard to kind of keep track of what's going on in there. It's very powerful technology, and it has to be taken out of the hands, of these people, who just want to do evil with it. Like, that's all I see is evil with it. I'm gonna read a little bit of it. It's really convoluted, like how it speaks about it. Let me read the claims. This will be interesting. What is claimed is brainwave monitoring apparatus comprising means for producing a base frequency signal, means for producing a first signal having a frequency related to that of the base frequency and at a predetermined phase related thereto, means for transmitting both said base frequency and said first signals to the brain of the subject being monitored, means for receiving a second signal transmitted by the brain of the subject being monitored in response to both said base frequency and said first signals. So it mixes a lot of frequencies, to get a frequency from you, shot back on their monitor so they can monitor it. It is really, really crazy stuff. These are claims of what the technology does. Mixing means for producing from said base frequency signal and said received second signal a response signal having a frequency related to that of the base frequency, and means for interpreting said response signal. The interpreting said response signal would be the interpreting it by visual means on their monitor, and then maybe more extensive correlations of how you feel about that image or whatever. Let me read some of this. I'm probably not going to read the whole thing because it's very long, but please look it up. And I do want to just go through, some of it. I'm just going to start at the beginning and see where I get. Because I'm really, I'm very anxious right now. Because I'm being tortured 24 hours a day. Like, I'm holding a lot of it back by defensive, like, buffering stuff. But a lot of it is coming through. This guy is he's just funneling equipment into his house. He's getting people to participate, around the house, and maybe off-site. I'm not sure about that. There's no telling with this stuff because it's so it's such deceit. You're not really sure. you know. Background of the invention. Medical science has found brain waves to be a useful barometer of organic functions. Measurements of electrical activity in the brain have been instrumental in detecting physical and psychic disorder, measuring stress, determining sleep patterns, and monitoring body metabolism. The present art for measurement of brain waves employs electroencephalographs, including probes with sensors which are attached to the skull of the subject under study at points proximate to the regions of the brain being monitored. Electrical contact between the sensors and apparatus employed to process the detected brain waves is maintained by a plurality of wires extending from the sensors to the apparatus. The necessity for physically attaching the measuring apparatus to the subject imposes several limitations on the measurement process. The subject may experience discomfort, particularly if the measurements are to be made over extended periods of time. His bodily movements are restricted, and he is generally confined to the immediate vicinity of the measuring apparatus. So, for our comfort and safety, they want to get all those pesky little things they've got to attach to your skull away so you can be comfortable and move around while they remotely monitor you. That's insane, to say that it's for the subject's comfortability, that's insane. That's insanity, and we all know it. This is meant so that people can do this hidden. We've got to get it out because it is hidden, and people are using this because it doesn't have to be attached to you, and that's dangerous. It's not comfortable for me because if they had to attach crap to my head, I would be happy about that because they'd have to come to my house, and they can't come into my house. So I would feel very comfortable if this technology wasn't created and I had to go to a hospital to be hooked up to stuff where they could remote neural monitor stuff from me. That's insanity. Okay. Furthermore, measurements cannot be made while the subject is conscious without his awareness. The comprehensiveness of the measurements is also limited since the finite number of probes employed to monitor local regions of the brain wave activity do not permit observation of the total brain wave profile in a single test. I have no idea what that means. Summary of the invention. The present invention relates to apparatus and a method for monitoring brain waves wherein all components of the apparatus employed are remote from the test subject. Remote neural monitoring. More specifically, high-frequency transmitters are operated to radiate electromagnetic energy of different frequencies through antennas which are capable of scanning the entire brain of the test subject or any design region thereof. The signals of different frequencies penetrate the skull of the subject and impinge upon the brain, where the mix to yield an interface wave modulated by radiations from the brain's natural electrical activity. The modulated interference wave is retransmitted by the brain and received by an antenna at a remote station where it is demodulated. So that's just talking about the frequency that your brain is sending back. They're shooting a frequency, then your brain, they're getting something back, and it's being demodulated to show on the monitor that they are seeing, what you are visualizing, and also words that you're thinking. So let's see, where was I? The modulated interference wave is retransmitted by the brain and received by an antenna at a remote station where it is demodulated and processed to provide a profile of the subject's brain waves. In addition to passively monitoring his brain waves, the subject's neurological processes may be affected by transmitting to his brain through a transmitter compensating signals. The latter signals can be derived from the received and processed brain waves. So the more they do this to you, the less effect they're going to have when they first start doing it, but the more they learn about the frequencies of your brain, that's when they can really start affecting your emotions. They can make you depressed or anxious or guilty, or those things that that we just feel. Like they can process what you feel like. They can get that frequency, and then they can basically mimic it and shoot it at your brain so it feels that. So the more they learn about you, the more they're hooked into you, the more that they can be effective in making you feel things, and you'll just be like, oh, well, I'm depressed. I feel depressed because I'm being hurt. But it really could be, manipulation from the remote neural monitoring. Let's see, objects of the invention. Objects of the invention. It is therefore an object of the invention to remotely monitor electrical activity in the entire